So guys, a couple weeks ago, Century 21 is a sponsor of mine. They reached out to me on behalf of Reels for Easter Seals, which is a nonprofit organization that is something that is near and dear to my heart, and something that we share a common ground with. So they reached out, and they do a lot of storytelling and a lot of promoting and promoting other people. And so in that, they wanted to share my story, and they wanted me to tell a little bit about why I fell in love with these little plastic boats and getting out on the water. So I hope you guys enjoy. Check it out. A couple years ago, I came across kayak fishing, and it's a little niche sport that has got an amazing core of people. And for everybody that knows who I am, everything I do comes back to people. That's how I've built my company. That's how me and my wife maintain our relationships with our family and our friends, our children. At the core of everything comes back to people. And what I found in the kayak industry and in the kayak bass fishing industry is that the core group of the people in this sport are absolutely incredible. From the time that I first decided that I was going to buy a kayak and started doing some research, finding the little local groups, like right here in Georgia, the Peach State Kayak Anglers, the GKF, the Georgia Kayak Fishing, and many others, I was able to reach out and find people in my community that were open to answering the questions to a guy that didn't know anything about anything. I had just found bass fishing a couple months prior to finding the kayak sport, and it was just something different than anything else I had ever done. So in this sport, at the tournament level, KBF is kind of like the NFL. It's the top dog. It's the biggest kayak tournament in the industry. And last year, they really stepped it up. In March this past year, I took a trip up to Kentucky Lake with my best friend Brad, and we went and fished the national championship. This tournament gave away $100,000 to the first place winner. $100,000. Think about this, guys. At the end of the day, this is a plastic boat. They gave away $100,000 to the winner. That was this year's national championship. So as we go up and we get set up, and we're there for about 3 days of pre-fishing, and we're there for all throughout tournament, well, we have a network online on Facebook and Instagram and all these different forums and chats and setups. And what blew me away and what set me off and what made me fall in love with this industry more than anything, like I said, comes back to the people. And so think about it. There's 780, let's just say 800 anglers from across the world. I think 46 or so states were represented at this tournament. And it seemed like every single time there was a need. There was a guy that hopped online that his seat flew out of the back of the truck in his kayak. There was guys that lost that didn't have the batteries or the chargers for their power poles or for their fish finders, or guys that that lost a reel, or guys that snapped a rod. And at the end of the day, these 800 men and women were competing for $100,000, and not one time did I ever see anything less than when someone needed something, 10 people were, hey, I can be there in 10 minutes, or come to my hotel room upstairs, or here's there, or this is that. Take a seat, take an extra pole, I've got more line, you need those hooks. And these are guys that are your direct competitors. And it blew me away to think that here's this network of people that weren't chasing that check. And it's $100,000. They were all chasing the check, but it wasn't a matter of let me get mine. It was a matter of let's do this together. And that community and that core is something I haven't seen in a long time in any aspect of life. And so I was hooked. So I'm a Harley guy. I love to be on a bike. I love to be on two wheels, whether it's the Busa, whether it's the Harley, whether it's the whatever. Two wheels is two wheels. And for those of you that have been on two wheels, you understand that, you know, the saying is two wheels moves the soul. Well, that's what I found in kayak fishing. So here's how I explain. Here's my analogy on that. If you hop in your truck and you go to the mountains, when you get to the mountains, that's when your vacation, that's when your adventure kind of starts, because you just hopped in the truck and went there. I feel that's that way in a bass boat. It gets me to the mountains quicker. It gets me to where you want to go. It gets me to what you want to do. That bass boat is my big truck, right? Well, this kayak is my two wheels, and it moves the soul. And for me, when I leave the garage or I leave the house on the Harley, it's that trip and that adventure, and that's what's going on, starts right there. And it's the same thing for me in this kayak. Before my 3 children were born, I spent a lot of time on the bike, and I used to tell people that my alone time on my Harley is where I talk to God. And I still love my Harley, but I think it would start in the garage right now. I don't know. It's been a while. Because now, when it's just me, which doesn't happen a lot because I like to be around people, but when it's just me and I'm out here and the water's flat and it's calm and you hear the birds and you see the sun coming up, it's where I pray. It's where I pray for my wife, my kids, my family, my neighbors. It's where I find my getaway. It's where I unplug and I disconnect. I'm just as busy as everybody else, sometimes maybe more. My wife says that I like to spin plates, and that if I don't have 20 spinning plates, then I don't know what to do with myself. Maybe it's a workaholic, maybe it's driven, maybe it's whatever, relentless, call it what you want to call it. But I'm a motivated guy. And here is where it's just me. For those of you not tied to the kayak fishing community, I'm gonna do a little name dropping right here. And not typically how I do things, but these are people that are what I consider monsters, legends in this industry. And some of these guys, or all of these guys, have been instrumental in helping me understand what I'm doing and fall even deeper in love with this. So there's a long list, but there's a gentleman in Rome, Georgia named Jim Ware, and he goes, in the industry we call him the River Goat. And this man has answered questions for me. He works an odd schedule like I used to, and so he's answered questions for me at 2 o'clock in the morning about a bait or a way of fishing or a style of fishing on the bottom. You got guys like Gene Jensen, who in the industry is known as Fluke Master. You got guys like Ron Champion, Jay Whalen, Chad Hoover. These are guys that are monsters in this industry that have not for a second done anything less than to open up their world and let someone else step in. And these are guys who are all competitors, guys that are the top of the food chain in their industry, and yet are approachable, are guys that you can go ask questions to, or guys that are family men, or guys who, when I sit down and I hop online and I watch their YouTube channel, when my 6-year-old's sitting next to me, I don't worry about what they're doing or what they're saying, because I know that he can watch with me. And it's built a foundation for me in this sport that I would not take away or change for anything. It's been really incredible. And I got a collection of boats. I started working with Bonafide in this company because they're built in America. They're the most professional, quality built kayak in the industry. So I teamed up with them. I reached out and I told them that I love what you're doing and I want to be a part of it. And we've made that happen. So if any of you guys are watching this video and you're local to me, and you've thought even for a minute, or now you're thinking about for a minute getting in one of these boats, give me a call and let's go float. Let's go out and hop in the boats and hook a fish. because it's just different, and it's something that you have to kind of experience for yourself, and I'd love to share that with you guys. So much of this sport is about the places, and as much as I love the people, the places are pretty spectacular. Taking this boat, I can pretty much go anywhere and everywhere I want to go on the water. There's no restrictions. And what it's done for me is it's allowed me to travel the country. You know, getting to go and fish, and bass fishermen know, and going to fish Toledo Bend and Bienville Plantation and Lake Seminole and Stick Marsh and all of these other places that are iconic in this industry, and getting to go to places that the bass boat can't go. When you paddle upriver and you come up over the top of a 65-foot long beaver dam, and you hop out, step across the dam and grab the top of the kayak and pull it up over the dam and go back up into a channel that I don't even know when was the last time someone seen that. It's incredible. And it's just a way to put everything else down behind you. I'm just as addicted to this thing right here as everybody else is. This is how I make a living. This is what I do. But when I get to put this away and pick up this paddle and let this drive me to where it is I want to go and see new places and new adventures and doing different things, it's just pretty awesome.